So I was looking around on YouTube, looking kind of for some information on the different dating apps. I just recently joined some of them, and it's annoying to say the least. There's like subscription fees for $35 a month for each app. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, they each have their own fee schedule, and it seems almost like they are dependent on age and gender, because you just create one. And I was like, $35, god, that's really expensive. And I tried changing my age, creating a new account and changing my age like 18 or 19 just to see, and it is cheaper. It's like they know that the older you are, the more desperate you are, and you spend more, that you have more money to spend. Besides that, it's just annoying to use. And I wanted to look into a little bit about how other people are feeling about these dating apps. It just can't only be me, right?
So the other day, I was thinking about dating apps, right? And I was wondering how they were getting on. And it turns out that they are not doing great. Bumble's actually down 92% since it first went public. And Match Group, the company which
because it
owns
sucks to
basically every
use.
other dating app,
It's
is
too
doing
expensive for
pretty
what you
badly
get
as well. People are falling out of love with dating apps. And this is affecting Gen Z in particular, who are becoming less likely to spend money on the apps. In fact, Forbes Health ran a survey and found that 79% of Gen Z respondents had reported experiencing some form of dating app burnout. You might have even seen that the companies have resorted to some interesting marketing techniques. For example, Bumble got in trouble for some ads that they ran trying to convince women.
Thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun. You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer. This was during when it was the United States, and they were repealing some amendment, Roe v. Wade, and women were saying, "Oh, fine, then we won't be dating men. Then we won't be hooking up." And then these ads came out right around then.
To no longer be celibate, I guess. People weren't too happy with these adverts. Now, this is a far cry from the promise that dating apps made for us. When they first launched, it would be difficult to believe that around a decade later, they'd be launching $500 a month membership programs.
Yeah.
If we try
like
to understand how we ended up here, we maybe can come to some interesting conclusions, not just about these apps, but maybe about human relationships more broadly and the assumptions that we might make about each other. The first thing that's worth explaining is that the decline of these apps is in large part a signal of broader trends in technology. There's this idea of enshittification, the phenomenon of online platforms degrading the quality.
Because originally Tinder used to be pretty good, and it wasn't that expensive.
User satisfaction and overall value. This is something that's really broad across technology. It is best characterized through Airbnb, starting initially as a promised land where you could rent out a spare room at the fraction of the cost of a hotel, but ending up in a situation where people are paying $200 cleaning fees and have curfews and service fees for a rental. The most egregious example of enshittification is BMW, who in 2022 launched a subscription to just unlock the heated seats that were already in the car. Dating apps are not immune to this problem, as fundamentally they are technology.
And it's annoying, especially with the BMW thing. When you buy the car, if they put in the heated seats, you paid for the heated seats. Because it's part of the cost of the car. BMW is getting money for those heated seats. That they're not going to bank on, getting $18 a month later down the road for heated seats.
The most obvious manifestation of this enshittification is the idea that subscriptions are king. I don't know if you know this, but Tinder actually has 3 separate subscription options on top of the $500 a month subscription plan. These look more like insurance plans than dating apps.
Yeah.
$100 a month subscription
plan.
Look
at this.
These look more like...
Right. So there's the unlimited likes. so that then you can like as many as you can. Whereas on the regular plan, I think it's like $20 or 20 likes you can give. You can passport or move to anywhere you want. Hides advertisements. What's this? One free boost a month. This is the one that lets you get 30 minutes of being at the top of the feed. But then, you know, everybody can see that you paid to be at the top of the feed. There's the super likes. You used to have super likes under Tinder Plus. See who likes you. That also used to be like those three were under Tinder Plus. New top picks every day. This is where they like, it's the most popular women, the ones that have the most attention. So this is useless because she's getting like 500 messages. Do you think yours is going to pop up if you message her? What is this? What is this for? It literally does nothing. Message before matching. Prioritized likes. See the likes you've sent in the last 7 days.
Like insurance plans than dating apps. Dating apps have not become immune from this subscription.
That platinum
behavior.
plan is almost like $90 a month.
Strategy has led to them
it is
feeling
ridiculous.
More like a gacha game. If you don't know what a gacha game is, it's a game that uses like a loot box mechanic where players buy in-game currency and use it to gamble effectively. In fact, Tinder actually rolled out
its own currency.
In-app currency that you could use to buy special features that would increase your chance of finding love. It's a very overt shift towards gamification, towards implementing game-like mechanics in a non-gaming environment. The literal CEO of the parent company of Tinder is a man named Bernard Kim, who was the former president of Zynga.
Into a game.
If you don't know who Zynga are, they are the company that is responsible for all of the worst mobile games.
Yes.
You know, the ones that look like this, right?
Yes.
And it's no surprise that these mechanics have been transferred directly from mobile games, which are some of the most addictive games in the world, to dating apps. This idea of gamification, broadly put, is simply
you're playing with people's
driving
lives,
engagement and driving usership,
and
not
their safety.
by providing a service, but by hijacking your brain's reward circuitry and making you addicted to the app rather than...
The other thing is with dating apps is it is hard to compete with them. Because with a dating profile, you only see the best parts of someone. People, you know, it is an advertisement for a cruise, right? You only see the best parts of what that person is. But when you meet them in real life and you actually have, you know them for a couple of weeks, now they become real. And real people in your mind, once you meet them and they become real in your mind, they have faults. They have things that are wrong with them, things that wouldn't show up on a dating app. Maybe they have a weird laugh or they have a stutter. People are imperfect. But when it's just, 5 pictures and a paragraph, that can be perfect. And the idea of that person on the dating app is, an idea of perfection that doesn't exist anywhere. Like if you have someone who is perfect on an app versus someone who is, slightly broken in front of you, I'm not saying everyone would, but perfect is a dream. It's a sales pitch. And people fall for sales pitches all the time. And I think, that idea is hard to get across to people. When you live with someone and you've gotten to know someone very intimately, you kind of already know what their day is like. You kind of already know, the conversations that you guys are going to have. You guys have a history together, and there's not much more that they can tell you that is new with them because you guys are together. It is lived in. there's nothing new and exciting to find out about this person. And it's, you know, the warm embers of love. Whereas when you meet a new person, there's so much you don't know. What's your favorite color? What kind of pets do you have? You know, how's your relationship with your parents? Like all of those kind of things. And that makes conversation very exciting and very new and different and thrilling. And, you know, that's like puppy love. Like a puppy is just jumping around and excited and, you know, all of that. There's all that energy. That's what like first dates should feel like. But established relationships are more like, you know, you're sitting by the fireside and you're reading a newspaper or a book, and your dog comes over to sit down with you and to cuddle with you or sit at your feet. He's no longer a puppy. There's no more that intense energy. And I'm not saying one is better or worse, but the types of love are different. And some people, they get addicted to that first type. They get addicted to having a puppy. And once the puppy gets old, they get rid of the puppy and they get another puppy. That is literally what people do. It's why you'll see, you know, shelters, you know, everybody wants the puppy, nobody wants the old dog. Well, very few people want the old dog.
Yeah. As these apps have become increasingly gamified, people have responded much how they would respond to an actual game by trying to exploit the mechanics of the game.
Yes.
In the world of dating, this manifests as hinge hacks. So there's this whole world on TikTok, which I didn't know about, of people sharing techniques and tips that you can use to make your experience of using dating apps a little better. Some of these things include refreshing your Hinge feed by threatening to delete your account, which supposedly flags Hinge and makes you way more likely to show up in other people's feed. Other people's decisions have been things like choosing to use AI wingmen to create a profile that is optimized for these.
Yes, so great AI wingmen to make that optimize your profile to become even more perfect. So for what? I'm guessing that the other person has an AI swiper to make sure it has all the keywords and auto swipes the best profiles. It's literally what's happening with the job market, right? People applying for jobs using AI to write their job, their applications or profiles, and then the companies, the other side, the other gender, using AI to run through all of the job applications or matches.
Algorithms. Certification isn't necessarily a complete explanation, though.
And it's so full of bots.
Many other services in technology have been getting worse and worse, the companies seem to still be doing great. And there are some unique dynamics of these apps that make them especially prone to collapse and that can help us understand the mass exodus. Part of it is simply the fact that these apps promote the idea that they'll literally change your life. Hinge, for example, markets itself as the dating app designed to be deleted, which is an extremely big promise. It's a promise that I personally, as a cynic, feel like isn't necessarily true. Hinge is owned by a $9 billion company. So, you know, I don't think they want you to delete any of their apps. I should mention that I try to consult a variety of sources, and sometimes that leads you, especially with dating, down some uncomfortable rabbit holes. And so I want to maybe address a few preconceptions that people can often have after having had a bad experience with dating apps. They're not an enjoyable experience for anyone, regardless of gender identity. Around 80% of women report feeling some level of burnout, and around 74% of males report feeling some
because women are getting inundated with 500 messages every day, and men are, you know, throwing out 500 messages every day. And it is a numbers game, and it gets exhausting because you don't see the results of your labor. And it is exhausting. You put forth a lot of time and effort between getting ready and going out and, you know, making sure that, like, oh, we're going to go do this, and then if this falls through, we'll have this backup plan. And, you know, just having all of your shit together and making sure you smell nice and your hair is clean and done, your nails are trimmed, you know, on top of like having conversations ready to go, right? You don't want to sit there in silence. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work, and you just burn out. And you can't stop, right? If you just stop going on the date, stop swiping, then you might miss the one.
And of burnout as well. The unenjoyable experience is pretty evenly split across the aisle. We have some very different problems that occur, but no set of problems is one more significant than the other. Interestingly enough, men outnumber women 3-1 on Bumble and Tinder.
Interesting.
And yet women
I didn't know
report
that.
higher rates of negative experiences. That's not to invalidate the fact that men obviously have incredibly high rates of negative experiences, but rather to emphasize the fact that nobody enjoys
go
the
to
experience of dating apps.
r/nice
The grass isn't greener
girls.
on anyone's side. Men are far more likely to experience feelings of rejection, feelings of being ignored, whereas it seems like the issues that women report are more, well, they're different. They're different at least, right?
Yes.
So a 2023...
Yes. Yes. Sexually explicit messages or pictures they didn't ask for. And I'm going to be honest, guys, nobody wants to see that. It's 110%. I don't think any woman ever wants to actually see a picture of your dick. Just don't do that. Unless they explicitly say, show me. Don't fucking do that. They don't want to see it. Have you ever seen a dick before? Like someone else's dick? It's not visually appealing. It's not something you want to look at. It's not something that, oh, I got a nice message. And then you open it up and there it is. It's not funny. It would be funnier if you sent a picture of you know, a poop in a toilet. Because at least that is kind of funny or interesting.
A survey found that over half of women under 50 who'd used dating apps had been sent a sexually explicit message that they didn't ask for.
They probably also get some harassing messages too.
But generally, the issues that lead people to feel burnt out are more broadly the failure to find a good connection, being ghosted, being lied to, feeling rejected, and having boring or not substantive conversations.
Yes.
Now,
and the thing is, those conversations become boring when you have the same conversation 50 times a day. The first 3 are nice. The first 3, like, oh, how's your day been? Tell me something about your day today. If your parents asked you that, then your friends ask you that, and then your spouse asks you that, that's only 3 times. And you don't want to talk about your day anymore. You've talked about it 3 times already. But on a dating app, every single person is going to ask, how was your day? And when it's 50 fucking people asking the same question and you have to copy and paste your answer to 50 people, like it just, I don't want to talk about my day.
Let's maybe understand a bit more about the user experience and what kind of leads to these super high rates of dissatisfaction and whether dating apps are actually benefiting from this or not. Because it seems like they aren't benefiting from this huge level of dissatisfaction that people are experiencing. I want to explain a little term from economics called adverse selection. Planet Money wrote a little piece explaining how adverse selection might be an important factor in understanding why dating apps have gotten so bad lately. It's possible that dating apps face adverse selection. Basically, a new app starts up and hopeless romantics looking for real love begin flocking to it.
Yes.
But so do sleazy types who lie on their dating profile.
Yes.
Over time, the earnest daters go on a bunch of bad dates, encountering people who have no interest in real relationships or whose profiles are completely misleading. Like lemons driving good cars out of the used car market, maybe sleazeballs push great catches out of dating apps and ultimately ruin the quality of the whole app experience.
Yes.
So people go to a new app in the hopes of finding something better.
And the sleazeballs, they are on there just to, you know, waste everyone's time. They are there for completely selfish reasons.
And the cycle starts again. This idea of adverse selection is basically the idea that people can take advantage of, you know, the meta on dating app to promote themselves as something they're not and ultimately lead honest, well-intentioned users to feel like the apps don't have any other honest users because they're only interacting with people who know how to game the app. This is this whole idea of, hinge hacks or using AI tools to beat the system. It doesn't necessarily make you a better person on a date, but it makes you more representative of what the market supposedly looks like to someone who's just downloaded the app. And it makes people who download the app feel like everyone is awful. There is a way to actually minimize these bad apples. This is something that's actually been done before. If you can give the users as much information as you can, they can make more informed decisions, right? That's intuitive. However, the more information you provide,
you make the users more invested on the platform.
It makes for the app to be gamified, because they can't rely on the fact that you don't know things about other people. This is most clearly shown in the fact that Hinge's premium program, Hinge Plus and Hinge X, they both allow you to actually add more information about yourself. They allow you to filter your dates by location, by activity, and to fine tune exactly what you're looking for, which inevitably leads to a better dating experience and reduces this problem of adverse selection. And this isn't just theoretical.
Right. And the thing is that you have to pay to get out of that adverse selection. And the other thing is stuff that kind of matters, but also doesn't, like height. Does height really matter? Does height make a difference on whether you're going to like someone or not, or whether they're a good match for you? No, not really. It's more, what are your political views? What are your religious views? What are, things that you enjoy doing on the weekends? What kind of stuff do you do? Hobbies that you have? Stuff like that. Those are much more important, but you can't, none of these apps have that. How important they are to you. None of these apps have that. And if they do have it, it's a paid feature. You can't filter out people with it unless you pay the $40, $50 a month.
We can take the example of OkCupid, which has actually gone through a bit of a transformation from being a dating app that dealt with this problem of bad apples a lot better than the new school of dating apps, into gradually becoming another Tinder clone. I found this comment of someone who described their experience, and I think it captures quite well what's going wrong with these apps.
OkCupid was great.
Used to be really great before they were sold off to Match. Match is the company that owns Tinder and Hinge and all of the other ones. It was a pretty simple concept that worked really well. You start people off by forcing them to answer at a minimum,
you get them invested.
25 matching questions.
Those shitty people, those bad apples, are not going to sit there and answer 25 questions and try to game the system with 25 questions. It's too much. There's too many variables to do with 25 questions.
Around things like politics, religion, handling money, hygiene, etc.
Yep.
Core factors that people would consider when dating,
Bingo.
essentially. But the kicker was that you also got to specify how you would like your potential match to respond to the same question. And you got to weight that response based on how much you cared about that particular question. After about 25 questions, you could always get a large enough sample size to match people, but it worked best at matching people that had answered over 100 questions each. It was like magic. Anyone with over an 80% match on that site always ended up being a surefire, amazing conversation. What this person is describing, without necessarily realizing, is this idea of adverse selection, right? The idea that just by having more and more information about who your potential matches are in terms of their interests, their likes, their personality, you can basically make dating apps be fantastic. However, the issue with that is that they can become a bit too good, right? And you end up in the situation where every person you match with is actually a pretty good person, and you're therefore extremely likely to quit the app. The ideal situation for these apps is this weird middle ground where they want you to find someone you like, but not too often, and not someone that you like too much, because then you delete the app. But they don't want you to have zero matches, because that means that you'll delete the app super quickly. That's kind of the optimal model of a dating app, what's called a variable ratio reward, where you get a reward at an unpredictable interval, and you get a reward that's big enough every time to keep you chasing the next one, like a slot machine. And they're playing this like balancing game, and they're clearly not doing a very good job
dating apps today
when it comes
are
down
like
to
a slot machine.
People want what they've always wanted, which is meaningful connection.
It's a numbers game. You just have to keep rolling.
The real danger here
and instead of paying with dollar bills for every single time that you spin that slot machine, you pay with your mental well-being. Because every no response is just another punch into your mind. And every time that someone actually responds, and you go on a date, or it goes well, you go on a couple of dates, it's a big, huge reward. You won the jackpot. But then, won the jackpot, you're not going to show back up to the casino tomorrow. You won. So they have to give you small wins, make you match with people, you have 40% in common with, or 50% in common with. They don't want to give you the 80, 90% because that's too much of a jackpot. You're not going to come back.
People have been generalizing their experiences on dating apps as broader generalizations of how, quote unquote, society is today. And I think that's a big problem, because I would hope that most of us understand that, say, social media isn't necessarily a one-to-one representation of how people behave in real life. If you took Twitter posts, for example, to be the representation of how everyone behaves in general, you'd be scared to go outside. If you took Instagram Reel comments, you'd think everyone was incredibly racist all of the time. It's an algorithmic mirage. Yeah, exactly. It's an algorithmic mirage, right? These algorithms are so capable of building a mirage that makes you think that what they are showing you is simply a direct representation of what reality is.
Right, and that's not necessarily always the truth.
Through layers and layers of algorithms and psychology in order to fundamentally change how you interact with it. Yep. The good thing that we can take home from this is that people are ultimately voting with their wallets, which is by far one of the most effective ways you can actually create change. There's a big trend, you might have seen it, of run clubs now. A lot of people are joining run clubs in order to find love.
Why do you think people are joining run clubs? Because it's a natural filter. You can't, if you get high every day, you can't go to a run club. You can't breathe to keep up. If you're overweight, you can't keep up. You don't even go. If you're not in shape, they can immediately clock you and tell, oh, they're not capable of keeping up with me. Their photos of them going hiking and stuff are all just fake. They're not actually an avid hiker.
And this, to me, is ultimately a good thing. It means that people are actually choosing to create their own alternatives.
But what that also
which is
means
exactly what we need right
is that
now.
these kind of spaces,
many angles you can.
These kind of spaces get invaded by weirdos who make running their entire personality. That way they can show up and, smoke everyone at the run club and use run club as a dating place.
Approach this from. But ultimately, the biggest reason they're doing so badly is that they're not providing the service that they promised. The collapse of dating apps doesn't mean the collapse of romantic love. It means that it's actually going to spread a bit more towards the places where it needs to be, towards these organic spaces. But then again, I'm also incredibly single. So, take my words with a grain of salt.
And that's the thing.
This is a photograph.
Stop. Other thing is that, like, he says the love thing, the romantic love will show up in organic spaces. The problem is, in the US at least, there aren't very many organic spaces. They have slowly been disappearing. They still exist, but not like they used to. All the places that, kind of exist are, you go there and you do you're there for a purpose and then you leave. You don't just go there and hang out. What spaces go there and hang out? I can only really think of bars or clubs. I don't like going to bars and clubs. I don't like drinking. What am I supposed to do? I don't like doing drugs. Where am I supposed to go? I guess to the run club. But yeah, the dating apps these days just suck. I made the mistake of downloading Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and then paying for it for all three of them. It was like $120 for a month to cover all three. And I immediately remembered why I hated dating. Like within a couple of hours, it's like, this is stupid.